Hi, everyone, and yeah, thanks for joining us today for our Replace Legacy BPMS webinar. My name's Daya, and I'm going to be your moderator for today. Just a couple of housekeeping items before we get going. First and foremost, this webinar is recorded, so if you miss anything, we will be sending you the webinar recording as of tomorrow, so you can check it out again or share it with your friends and coworkers. The other thing is, in general, we do these webinars so you guys can ask your questions, and we really encourage that. You should see a box on your screen that says question or ask a question. If you click that, type in your question, we will answer all your questions at the end of this webinar. So feel free to continue to ask questions during the webinar, and we'll do our best to answer them at the end. So that's everything from my side. I'm going to pass it over to Niall and Mike to take it from here.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining. My name is Mike and I'm a member of Camunda's marketing team, and I'm joined by Niall Dean, one of our technical consultants. So Niall travels the world helping Camunda users and customers implement Camunda, get started, best practices and so on, and we'll be talking you through the webinar today. So before we get started, a few more notes and housekeeping things. So next slide, please.
It's very slow. That's mine. Let's try that again, shall we?
Sorry about that. Just one moment.
I'm going to try and do a duplicate. Almost works. It's always nice if something fails early.
All right. All right, back in business. So on the agenda today, we're going to talk through some common problems that we hear from Camunda users and customers they had with their previous BPMS systems before coming to Camunda. Then we'll talk about some of the things that help you solve those problems with Camunda. And as we talk through each of those different points, we're going to demonstrate how the feature is used in Camunda, and then we'll also show a more complete migration demo where we actually take a workflow built in a different system, move it over to BPMN 2.0, and then get it up and running in Camunda. So some quick background about the company in case you're not familiar with us. Camunda is a software company. We're headquartered in Berlin, Germany. We have offices in San Francisco, California, and Denver, Colorado as well. Have just shy of 100 employees, and very proud to be a profitable company. I've never raised any venture capital funding, and growing quickly. Slide, please. Couple more things. So we are running a survey right now about microservices orchestration, a use case that we hear from our Camunda users and customers more and more frequently, and you can see a link to the survey there. We're giving away either tickets to CamundaCon 2018, our annual conference in Berlin, or seats in the Camunda training, which are some really nice giveaways. We'd love to have your input, so check out the survey, please, if you have a chance. And also wanted to let you know that we're running a couple more webinars in the next couple of weeks. So next week, we'll be running a reschedule of a No Java, No Problem webinar showing you how you can use Camunda and applications that aren't built in Java. And then also going to go through a Camunda Optimize 2.1 release webinar the week after. So we'd love to see you at those webinars as well. You can sign up on our website. And now to get to the meat of the presentation. We ran a poll a few months ago where we asked a bunch of users the reasons that they came to Camunda, and this is what we saw. And what we're doing is creating some webinar content and some written content on the website as well, sort of talking through each of these different triggers to someone coming to Camunda. And what we're going to focus on today again is why someone might want to replace the legacy BPMS product with Camunda. And Niall, if you want to talk through.
Yeah, sure. Howdy, folks. So yeah, as Mike quite nicely introduced myself, I am Niall Dean. I'm an international consultant with Camunda. So one of the reasons I'm here, of course, is because I have quite a bit of experience with speaking with customers and stuff, and specifically with being able to replace existing systems and all sorts of different reasons and benefits people have got for that. To make this webinar a little more interesting, we decided that we'll have a little poll to find out what kinds of things that you actually are interested in with regard to replacing, or the reasons why you would do that. So, for instance, we have some of the reasons that we have come up with why people actually tend to move to Camunda. First of all, is their current system might be hard to install and maintain. Maybe every new version causes some sort of hassle. It's also possible that you want to integrate with other systems, but unfortunately that just doesn't work because of, for whatever reason, the legacy system or the existing system does not allow you to have good or at least easy integration. The other thing is proprietary development requirements. This is another relatively common one because a lot of very, very big BPMS systems tend to involve some part of proprietary either language or programming notation or some sort of weird additional thing that requires either specific training or basically can't be transferred. Also missing features and tools. Maybe you're just moving to Camunda because, well, hey, everything else works fine, but it's just too basic. Maybe that could be the issue as well. And also a very common one, of course, is issues with performance and scalability. So what I want to do now is I want to show you guys a poll, and you guys just vote on which of these affect you in the sense of why you might want to move from your existing BPMS, or maybe if you've already moved from Camunda or in the process of moving to Camunda, why you made that decision. So now I'm going to try and fight with this lovely piece of technology to try and bring this poll up. So let's do that now. And here we go. I guess that'll do the trick.
All right, yeah.
Okay, super. We'll give you guys a minute or two to go through that. Hopefully everyone can see it okay. And then what we'll do is we'll just pick the top three, maybe. We'll see how time allows. And we'll just go through those in more detail. And then show you sort of the problems we've experienced and the way they're solved in Camunda. You may also notice that this particular slide, I think, Mike, you noticed this originally, it's got some words in a foreign language on it.
A language that is new to me, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And I think I promised some sort of special prize at the end for anyone who might guess what language that is. And a big clue, of course, is that we are in Berlin, Germany, where this language is definitely not spoken. Okay. Okay, so this, the poll is really heating up. That's great stuff. We'll give you a couple more seconds. It's kind of interesting to see the results of this. This poll was also done earlier this morning for the German language folk, and I think we're getting kind of different results here, actually. Okay, so I think that's probably long enough, and we have quite a few things here. So I'm going to close the poll in a few seconds right now, just to give you guys an idea of the winners, I guess, if there is such a thing. We got a cool first place, in case the poll is still open, so this could potentially change. So this is your opportunity, guys. Well, it looks like we're going to go with the three top ones, which are proprietary development is required with your current BPMS. Next up being missing features and tools. And finally, we'll talk about integration with other systems. So those are the three things we're going to talk about right now. If I've missed the other stuff, don't worry, I just won't go into it in detail. But I will be available. It'll be available for questions later on. Okay, so let's. Do you remember those three? I'll just keep those there.
Yeah.
So we'll start off with hard to integrate other systems. Okay. Let's bring that up. Okay, good stuff. So, so I'll take it away there, Mike.
Yeah. So what we're going to go through now are some common problems that our users have had with other BPMS systems in terms of integration. And so, first, their current architecture doesn't fit into the BPMS's requirements. And so, I want you to talk us through some of the details there.
Yeah, sure thing. So Mike brought up here a pretty common one that basically they have a specific architecture involved. From my experience, actually recently, I think you guys have probably known from if you've talked to me before, I noticed some of the names there. I think some of you guys know me. I'm a really big proponent of microservice architectures. And a lot of the BPMS stuff, it makes it, especially the older stuff, makes it very, very hard to decide to move to a microservice architecture. Just because all of those old BPMSs have tended to be quite big and very centralized systems. Another one, of course, being that it's very often the case that people are moving towards more event-driven stuff. So that's pretty clear. And usually, actually, the event-driven stuff is very, very hard to maintain if the existing system doesn't have the kind of structure for that internally, because these BPMSs really do need to have your state in mind, and these events should be triggered from that perspective.
Right. So another problem that we hear, other BPMS systems don't give much choice when it comes to the runtime environment, the database used for managing workflow state, and so on. So what's the deal with that?
Yeah. So that is usually a pretty obvious one. So first of all, if I were a company that happened to be making databases, for instance, and I also had a BPMN system as well, the chances of me supporting a database that wasn't my own is very, very low, because why would I do that? The idea being that a lot of the companies that that have this BPMS stuff, especially some of the really big ones, it's just a component in a greater collection of other systems. So they will be geared towards a lot of compatibility with their own software. Now, because Camunda itself basically is simply a BPMN component as its primary function, it means that we support a lot of different databases and also a lot of different environments for runtime, like application servers, that usually we might not. So if you, for instance, want to use Tomcat, but the BPMS that you're using basically has this one container to run on, like WebSphere or something, then you're basically stuck. And that can be a big problem as well.
And we also hear about functional limitations. So maybe a BPMS doesn't fit with the way that your organization works. So what are some of the problems that we see there?
Yeah. So that's kind of interesting. So there's quite a broad topic. The two that come to mind are some of these messages I've seen before, they tend to work on a concept of connectors and adapters, where you get to drag and drop sort of stuff in certain places, and this has a connector that can connect you to something, which is fine if you use that what that connector is done for, but it's really not that useful at all if you want to connect to some very new or specific system, and you end up being limited by the growth of this BPMS in order to increase the integration with new software that you're interested in doing. And usually the functional limitations will also stretch into the idea that you really can't sort of tinker with as much as you would like what's going on under the hood as well.
All right, very good. So let's move on now to the next slide, and we'll talk about how Camunda addresses each of these issues. So first, there's lots of integration options. Such as?
What I want to do here actually is I want to talk about some of the ways Camunda does this, but I want to really quickly get to a demo to show you actually how it works. So the integration options with Camunda are clearly very interesting. They go all the way from being a centralized component in its own application server, where it can be part of a distributed system, to an embedded engine where it's literally part of your system. So you have a lot of integration options, and you can also use remote. You can also use other languages using the external task pattern. You're able to maybe orchestrate JavaScript stuff, for instance, or maybe other new systems. It gives you a chance to, for instance, we have some people who want to use Go as a language in future because it has a lot of cool stuff up and coming. And you can do that with Camunda because the integration options are there with external tasks, where you can basically decide, let's just try this. Let's give it a shot. We don't need Camunda to support Go. It already has a really good integration stuff.
What about supported environments? Can you run it where you want to run it in the way you want to run it?
Well, it kind of depends. We have a lot of stuff that's supported, which is good news. Far more than I think most others. But we'll maybe go through those in detail, maybe, because we support most application servers, most SQL databases, and we try to keep up to date with the latest version of those. You can also basically kind of run Camunda in the cloud really easily, or on premise, or wherever you like. It can be started up quite easily.
And what about the way that Camunda fits into a development process with regard to, say, maybe testing or other sort of common developer activities?
Yeah, this is that's always a fun topic, especially with developers themselves. If you actually bring in some new software and you tell developers, by the way, we're using this new software, and now you guys have to change the way you actually develop. Yeah, for whatever reason, it's not, it doesn't use unit tests, or it doesn't compile our CI or something. A nice thing is that usually, in almost all cases, in fact, we actually don't need to worry too much about that, because your development environment, the way you develop right now, because Camunda is just open source, lovely open source library, everything it does is open. You can basically put it as part of your existing application, and I think I'll demonstrate that shortly.
Yeah, speaking of the open source, what about plugins and extensions, either officially supported or from the community?
Yeah, so obviously a lot of other, because we are open source, the big benefit there is that we have a whole community building all sorts of really fun open source stuff. An example being Cassandra is a data source that we actually probably don't intend to actually support, I would say, because it's not a SQL database. But the community as an entity has basically said, okay, well, we'll just build something then that we can use in that. And there's a pretty good community extension for that. And that's just an example. There's lots of other plugins for the modeler, for the engine itself, for the web apps that we support. And so you can usually kind of find, or even develop yourself, your own custom stuff.
All right, very good. Let's move into a demo then and show some of these features in action.
Yeah, sure thing. So what I'm going to demo now is I'm going to really quickly swing by and show you guys the support environments. What do you see there? Okay, so let's go to let's see, what lovely webpage shall I show you guys? So I'm going to go for Camunda supported environments. I want to actually step through things, because it's one thing to actually talk about supported environments and another to actually check it out. So if you're wondering, these are the kind of things that we support in terms of environments. You see here that we have a whole bunch of containers that you can support, Tomcat and JBoss. Usually I use Wildfly, and you can see that up until we keep maintaining our support as new versions come out. We also support like some less popular, maybe they are, less well-known or well-used stuff like IBM WebSphere and WebLogic, and of course Spring Boot as well with Tomcat. We also have a whole bunch of databases that we support, so it's not just linked to one specific guy there. I think the most common use case people tend to use is PostgreSQL, and probably, I guess, maybe Oracle are probably the most common ones I would come across. And then we also have a whole bunch of other stuff here it's worth checking out, but it means that we try our best to make sure that we don't limit ourselves to any particular technology to force people to use one or the other, even if we do have preferences internally. The next step I want to show you is just the really simple concept of integration with Camunda. If in the hardest possible sense, Camunda is a lovely little engine written in Java, and primarily people who use Java tend to use it. But we can also, of course, if your code, for instance, is written in a non-Java language, we can do something like let's create a couple of these little guys here, and we can say, okay, this is going to, let's say, send an email, and this guy here is going to, let's say, run some important JS. So the idea being that if you are migrating, it's a nice idea to remember that you can also take your code with you. So assuming that I actually wrote this in some other language, the integration is really simple. We just basically don't tell Camunda to run the code itself. Instead, we turn Camunda into a more of a, probably people might have come across it before with microservice stuff, but into a more public subscribe method. So for instance, I have a topic there. Okay, very nice, and it's called send email, and I also have another topic here where some other worker is going to say important stuff. Okay, the idea being that once the engine now is basically going to create a list or a queue for these topics, and they can be picked up by external systems. And I'll really quickly demonstrate that by I'll see how quickly I can knock this together. Let's call this Doom2. And save it. So right now I have Camunda up and running, of course, I assume, because I'm very prepared. Yes, I do. Of course I do. And no one doubted me. Well, Mike slightly doubted me. I started looking at his eyes. So this is rolling around nicely. There we go. So I'm going to log into Camunda. Hopefully this isn't too new to anybody. And we have here just a basic deployment. I might go into it a little later on. And I want to just send this new process there. Let's do it. stuff. Sent. So this basically used the REST API to send it to the engine, and now it's deployed. So by using external tasks, you have this really great separation of your business logic. So let me demonstrate that really quickly by going to task list and starting an instance of this process. Great stuff. So there we go, that's started. So that started the process, and we should then see in Cockpit that we have one instance sitting here waiting to be picked up. So the integration comes with the idea that now Camunda is in charge of maintaining state. And this means that I can now pick up some other external system, which I'll just really quickly find. We can pick this up and complete the task. So for instance, here I have a bit of JavaScript, and this guy right here has a REST endpoint. Very, very simple. It also has a topic that's interested in. So when I start this up, independently of the engine completely, it's going to pick this work to do, and it's going to do it. So let's change that to email. Okay, great stuff. And now I'm just going to start it up. And integration is as simple as that, because the idea being that if you wanted to you want to use Camunda, you want to use it for state management. You don't want it to have all your code like maintained somewhere on a server. So this got picked up and got done, and now we can take a look at Cockpit. And if I click on the history, you'll see that this then completed the task. So it means that you don't need to worry about having these connectors or this concept of Camunda needing to run stuff itself. It's just then becomes a state machine. Okay, so we got next.
So next, actually, the winner of our poll, proprietary development required. So why don't we move on to that next? I think it's the next slide right after the integration slide.
Sure is. Let's see if this thing is nice to me this time.
All right.
1 second. Yep. Okay.
So let's talk through some problems so we can get to some solutions. So first and foremost, see cases where developers are required to use vendor-specific tools. So what comes up here?
Yeah. Okay. So I guess to really quickly sort of give you an idea, usually the idea is that they have a very specific modeler that models to their own weird proprietary notation or something. That's usually a worst-case scenario. You sometimes find that, but also you think the real worst case scenario is if they've actually changed your IDE in some way where they require a specific version of Eclipse or something but to work. That can be very irritating. Or in some cases they created their entire own development environment that you must use, and it's usually got a bunch of properties, panels, places, and you really don't have any idea what's happening underneath.
I think that segues into the next point, which we touched on a little bit in the first section as well, but sort of asking a development team to change its workflow altogether, use different tooling for getting things live and so forth. Yeah,
this is because of a lot of the work I do, I talk to developers directly. One of the really common things they actually talk to about is I like the way I do my testing, and I like the frameworks I use and stuff like that. So an example here being like, can I do everything with my JUnit test, for instance, because I already test everything else with that? Why must this be different? And this can be a problem because you would need to then have this separate sort of testing framework. Also being able to really simply test in different environments without needing to, so really easily move from dev to staging to production all together in the same development cycle without needing to do something different just for this particular type of tool.
Okay. And another problem that we hear is that developers are forced to use a certain vendor-specific technology rather than being able to choose best in breed from what's available, maybe what they're used to using. So what comes up here? What are some of the specific?
So this can sometimes be as simple as a vendor that uses an old version of a library or something that you quite like, and you're kind of stuck with that, or that they're just basically not really taking into account sort of things like the new technologies in general. They're actually quite, or even a terrible scenario being that they actually come up with their own weird BPMN notation thing, which is also very, very irritating when they decide to create what looks like BPMN, but actually internally it doesn't have the metadata that's required.
All right. Let's talk about how Camunda addresses some of these.
Yeah. So, once again, this is going to be shown in a really nice way in the demo, but basically we have some really good tooling that allows you to use whatever you like. If you like IntelliJ, keep using IntelliJ. If you like Eclipse, go for it. And also if you use JUnit, that's great because we have some tools for that, but you can basically keep using your own CIs and your own stuff. You really don't need to change any specific for Camunda.
And what about programming languages? What's the
well, this is becoming
there?
Yeah, no, actually I quite like this one because it's becoming more and more clear that not really by design, but simply by the opportunity. It's meant that ever since external tasks showed up as part of our stack, it means that lots of people are starting to use things like C#. We have people who have written their own clients in .NET, one in Smalltalk and stuff like that. It's really weird. Right. Yeah, and then so we decided to create our own external task clients that people can then use, and then we hope that people will then, the community, will then actually create these clients in multiple other languages. So you do get freed up to use whatever language you like, whatever business language suits you.
Cool. And this is an important one, again, repeating ourselves a bit, but you're not going to have to change your development processes. Stick with what you're currently doing.
Yeah, exactly. We like to try and just fit into what existing developers like using and like doing, and it's quite easy to do that because Camunda is quite small. It's at the core of it, it's a Java library, right? And when you're developing with it, you have this open API you can use. You don't need anything additional bar to add it to projects, or at least to start it up in your IDE, but you need no additional plugins and stuff. It's actually quite easy to add it to your existing development environment.
All right, excellent. And you're going to get to keep using best of breed tools, so the library or framework that you love using is not going to have to give that up, right?
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, there's nothing really that, especially in development time, there's nothing really that Camunda needs that would actually make you have to force to change something.
All right, very good. So I think we move now into demo mode again.
Oh, yay, demos. So I'm going to swing by into my, and I'm going to use Eclipse now. I do have IntelliJ open on my screen. Some eagle-eye viewers might notice that. That is just to tease you. I'm not actually going to use IntelliJ because I still prefer Eclipse. I'm sorry to disappoint everybody. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just show you guys a project that I happen to have. So if people haven't really seen how Camunda looks in a project, it's really simple. It looks kind of like this. We have our little project here. This is very basic. It's just, there's nothing proprietary about it. We have a little logger in here, a little Java class. And this guy here simply prints out what's going on in the process. And I also then have a process right here. It's also as part of my project. And this is just an XML file. If I open up the modeler, I'll be able to see that it's actually also a BPMN file. And what I can do is I'll just really quickly do this. I will move this, see, and I'll just drop this little task in here. And I'll basically show you how we just call a Java class, so call a logger. So there's nothing too complicated about this. I'm going to say I want to call my Java class that I have written, which is this one right here. And I just need to take this guy right here, copy qualified name, use the implementation type of Java class. This is different to the external task, save it. And this so far is all pretty simple. It's all in Eclipse. The really nice thing happens then when we actually want to test it, because that's the really important thing. In here, we have a really simple JUnit test. The engine is really small, which means that we can just start it up inside a JUnit. So the first thing we have here is a little bit of JUnit that just starts up the engine. It then tries to deploy the process to see if it would actually work. What I'm going to do is slightly more advanced than that. So this is going to get my process. It's going to start an instance of it. It's then going to complete the first task, which as you can see is called some task. And then it's going to, and then hopefully we will have completed the process. So again, just using simple tools that already exist and are already standards within the development community, that we're going to be able to test how our process works without even needing to have the engine deployed somewhere else, like on a server, because you can see here the engine is just starting up. So we're building the engine. We're going to theoretically, one thing that you might, don't get too shocked if you see some red writing show up soon enough. That usually isn't a bad thing. We'll see. It actually depends on the writing, but I think even if everything goes okay, there's actually still some red stuff. So I'm just telling this to Mike, because Mike is very easily startled.
Stop sweating, yeah.
Yeah.
Taking a deep breath.
Yeah. Okay, there's the red writing that we come to know and love. So there's the logger having run. So we've actually run our code. We basically step through the process. Now, this is great that we have this API that can do it, but one step that makes it even more sort of compelling is the idea that in the target folder, what was generated was a little HTML file here. This is a community extension that is actually worth using. It's really easy to pop as far as your project. And it shows us how much of our process has actually been tested by our JUnit. So you can see I only chose one route, so it went along here. So almost 70% of my model has been tested.
Very nice.
Yeah, and so all of this can be done in your IDE, and if you want to use IntelliJ, I'm not going to complain too much. Okay.
All right, cool. So the third topic that we'll cover before we get into our wrap-up demo is lack of support for BPMN or missing features and tools. And so go ahead and get set up on the slides there and run through some problems and then, of course, solutions.
Yeah, solutions. They're my favorite things after problems. Actually, I don't have a favorite thing after problems. Okay, so so let's have a quick talk through this.
Okay, so first on the list, limited support for BPMN 2.0. So what do you see here?
Again, I might have mentioned this, but I don't know if people have noticed this, but sometimes you can have a BPM software that doesn't actually use BPMN as a notation. They might use their own weird proprietary thing, or they might extend it in a way that makes it non-transferable. That is really irritating. What's more irritating is actually BPMSs that actually allow you to import BPMN correctly, but then won't let you export it. That drives me nuts. So that can be a kind of an annoying missing feature. I know one BPMN product that actually, I think you can only export it if you pay for it or something like that. It's really weird.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then similar problem, you don't have all the symbols that you need. Some of the more complex and powerful BPMN symbols aren't supported by BPMS.
So this would be, so the BPMN symbol set is really cool. The basic symbols do quite a lot, and actually even up as far as boundary events and stuff, you can do a lot of functionality. But there's this last set of symbols, like for instance, compensation event and stuff like that, that is really powerful, but very, very complex. And the thing about that is they can kind of get away with not implementing that because it has specific use cases. It's probably not used all the time. It's also relatively complex to read, but it's such a powerful tool. And the real power of BPMN 2.0 is actually in those last really awesome final symbols that can be used.
All right, and then we move beyond the modeling process, and then we're thinking about actually deploying these models, running them, and there are some complex features that are missing that make it much easier to operate these things. So
so these are sort of operational features. So things that basically our cockpit front end can do. These are things like changing a process in runtime, dealing with errors that might occur, doing like batch retries, giving the engine specific retries to do, moving tokens around, all this sort of messing around that basically is really fun when you're not in a production system. The last thing, the toolchain not being complete. So maybe you don't have what you need from start to finish when it comes to, again, modeling, deploying, and then monitoring and operating on an ongoing basis, which is really important as well. Yeah. So the weird thing about BPMN is the fact that it sort of crosses the border of IT and business quite a lot. So it tends to be the business will model something and the IT will actually implement it, which means that if you're using a toolchain that basically says, oh, we're going to make a really awesome modeler, but we kind of are going to not really put as much attention to the execution part, that can be a problem. Same with vice versa, where you might have a really nice engine, but the actual front end for the business is awful. That can happen sometimes as well.
Cool. Let's get into some solutions then. So first, BPMN support and being able to import, export BPMN.
We're pretty obsessed with that. Yeah. So of course you can use our modeler or any other modeler you want for that. We have a whole bunch of different support for BPMN 2.0, and we fully support all the symbols in the modeler, even if the engine sometimes can't execute them. An example being the complex gateway, which is a symbol I hate because it makes no sense. But you can still model it. It's still part of the notation. So we don't limit our modeler just because of our engine, for instance, even though we support basically everything.
But the engine coverage is pretty darn good, yeah?
It's great. I think we had a meeting a little while ago internally where we basically decided we have implemented all the symbols we need to at this point. We're kind of done now, I think, with implementing symbols. There's nothing left that is of any value, which means we support like I think 95% of the symbols. There's some really weird ones with a notation that is designed to be executable, but also used as a diagram to explain what's going on. It's got a few symbols that make no sense for execution, and also a few that make no sense for just diagrams. So I think we're pretty happy, and probably the most coverage there is.
Very good. And then the toolchain is something we can show everyone and
maybe
demo that.
swing to the next
we'll
show.
right
actually,
to the
So just for those who don't know, we have this is sort of a nice little picture showing our tool chain. We start with Cavimo on the left there. That's a business tool for modeling stuff. Then we also have a developer tool. This is the modeler. That's where a developer will go and actually add the required required parameters to make the things work. You've probably seen this already. And we have Cockpit, where we can actually go and manipulate our process. Task List, where we can start the process and complete tasks. And then Optimize, which is the final step, which is where we can go and see all the data produced by the engine to be able to actually decide to change it in future for the better.
Very good. And I think now we're going to use all of those.
Yes, we are. I'm going to hopefully just run through the entire tool chain. I'm going to create a process in Cavimo. Then I'm going to export it to desktop modeler, add my semantics, deploy it to the engine, and then check it out in Cockpit. So let's see. I'm assuming all of that will work because I have total faith in in my abilities, of course. So let's first of all, I'm going to go to Cavimo. Cavimo is a free to use web modeling tool. I think it does have some sort of paid plan for like lots of users or something, but you can look into that yourself. The idea here is I have a home directory. I have a whole bunch of projects that all have a lot of models inside. So this is just loading now. Okay, there we go. So there's our project. Let's just click on models. So I've got a few models in here already. And what I can do is I can either drag and drop a model I've made, or I can just create it from here. I can invite collaborators to this or add comments and things. So I'm going to just quickly build some stuff here. Let's go with a user task. Let's say pick a beer. I tend to do beer-oriented things this time of the evening. Let's turn that into a parallel gateway. Mike, do you have a favorite symbol?
I really like the timer event.
Okay.
I'm a fan of.
That is pretty good. Okay, I'll do you a huge favor, Mike. I'm a nice person after all, and
I think I know what's coming.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm actually going to do myself a favor as well, because anyone who knows me knows that I have a very specific favorite, which is the event subprocess. Okay. I absolutely love it, and so I'm going to add an event subprocess here, which is a non-interrupting timer event, and I'm just going to have a little user task here.
I add more beer to the fridge.
Yeah, oh, that's even better than time's up. Okay, and now what I can do here is I can add comments to the model itself. I can use notations to signify to certain users that things, what about non-drinkers? Okay, comment that, great stuff. So like we can add comments to it. We can also share it by public link, or in this case, I'm just going to download it as BPMN 2.0, which means it can open in any modeler that you like. In my case, I've decided to open it in my favorite modeler. You'll never guess which one that is. Mm-hmm. So this is the desktop modeler for Camunda. So here it is. And then let's say pick. So this is now moving from a space where all the features are geared towards sharing and building and drafts and being able to integrate other users, to a point where now we have what will become a more technical front end, where we have actual things like the properties panel, for instance. These are going to be more of a developer tool. So how often do we need to fill the beer up? Any ideas there?
30 minutes.
30 minutes? Okay. 30 minutes. Depends on the number of people, of course. So let's do a cycle. Let's say repeat every PT 30M. So repeat for 30 minutes. Let's add a simple implementation. Just to make things easier for myself, I'm going to just do another send email task. Okay, great stuff. So that's now in the desktop modeler. I'm just going to give this another name, tick executable. And then same as before, I'm just going to deploy this to the engine via the REST API. Okay, good stuff. So now we should have another model somewhere. There it is. Okay, good stuff. That's deployed now. So once again, I can use task list to start the process. Then I can see that I have this list where I have my task here. I didn't give it any UI. I can see it's at this point in the process. Maybe I can start a few more. And then in Cockpit is actually where all the real power is, because that's where I can do really fun stuff like manipulate the instances. So this should give you a nice overview as an admin to see what's going on. there we have this thing here. So we have 3 instances. So let's pick one. So in here, I can do really fun stuff. Like I can, let's say, modify the instance. I can grab this token and maybe put it over here instead. Supply that. Good stuff. I can also do like really weirdly dangerous stuff. Like I can create tokens out of thin air. So just create one here, maybe create one there as well. And maybe one here, who knows? And just add that so that I can just create state out of thin air if I like. You can do all sorts of really crazy stuff in Cockpit, but the idea is that it gives you a really, really good tool where you can actually break loads of stuff if you don't know what you're doing. So it's here be dragons, but it's also pretty useful to use for edge cases usually. So, and we also have a history of what's happened as well in our process. And then, of course, once you've actually run through your process a few times, you can then run Optimize to find out more information. Because we'll be doing a webinar specifically on Optimize pretty shortly, I'm going to leave it for then to go into that in more detail, and also time is catching up on me.
Yeah, so I think we're going to move on to our last demo, where we're going to migrate a process from another standard different model and get it up and running.
Yeah, exactly. So basically what I decided to do, this migration is a very weird thing because it depends so heavily on where you're coming from to where you're going. So I picked a few different things I've seen. The first thing is that usually when you're migrating, in worst case scenario, you've used like Visio or something to model your processes, and therefore they're not executable in BPMN, which is very annoying. So you might have to build your model from scratch. You also might have running instances in your current system that you don't want to start from the beginning of your process, but a very specific point in your process with specific data. And of course, you might have existing code that you don't want to throw away, you want to actually keep and use. So for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to assume that we have a process that we have documented and that we have some working Java code that we want to use, and somewhere there happens to be some running instance of this process, and that we would like to have that state replicated in Camunda somehow to make sure that we don't have to sunset any very long-running processes in our old system. So what we'll do is we'll remodel a process, we'll run some Java code, and then create an instance representing where the other one is in the system. Okay.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Super duper. So super duper is fun to say. I don't know. I think there's a few words that I say that I get a laugh out of. I'm not sure. Only outside of Ireland does this happen. Okay, so let's kick things off. So I think I gotta find my fun model. It's here somewhere. Okay, so first of all, here is the model we'll be using. Okay, so this is written in something like BPMN. Okay, looks kind of like this. So we're given this thing. Okay, that's a good start. And we also have some important code to run in here. So the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go into Eclipse, and I'm going to start from scratch because that's where we usually start. I'm going to close all of these. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to really quickly create a new project for my shiny new model. And to give me a big hand, I'm going to use Camunda's archetypes to be able to start a project with basically the bare bones. So this is going to basically create the skeleton of a project, essentially a template. You don't need to do this. You can absolutely start with a project from a completely vanilla project. This just saves a bit of time. And so these archetypes are maintained by the Camunda consulting team. So every new version, we tend to come up with a new one. We keep them up to date. And this thing here is just building away. Fun. Mike, do you want to make small talk or?
Yeah, well, are we going to reveal the answer to the question?
Yes,
I think,
very true.
Yeah, that hasn't come up.
Yeah, if anyone knows what language that thing was that I wrote originally, please let Daya know. She is on the chat window. She's watching with bated breath. Okay, so here we have a project set up, and we have here, we saw this before, we have here where our Java classes go, we have our little process here, and we also have our testing framework. So first things first, let's build our process. So this is a very, very quick process. Sadly, it doesn't exactly represent what we want. So I'm going to really quickly build what this is. So to do that, I'm just going to do this. Good stuff. Okay, I'm going to close that for a moment. So let's see. So we need a task in here. We also need a timer event, which I'll change in a second. This is a user task, and this is going to be choose to create account. Great stuff. This is going to be a timer. This is going to end. Super duper. Then we're going to have a XOR gateway. Okay, great stuff. And this will then either go down here, or it'll go here. Okay, and this guy here is a human task or a user task. This guy here is a service task, and this one here is also a service task. And okay, create or new account needed, and we have a yes and a no. It's actually quite a good benefit to redraw these usually. While even if it's usually possible if you're using a BPMN tool to use the exact model as used before. But if you're like building the models, if you're changing or migrating, it's a great opportunity to add better features or even create better modeling patterns. So I generally suggest, even if it's a little more work, to build the models again from scratch, because you'll end up making nicer models. Okay, so now we basically copied that. That's pretty close. And the next step, of course, is adding our required stuff. So I'm going to add a really quick little bit of UI here. This is going to be new account.
And what we're building here is a form that the user can interact with in task lists, right? So that it's really easy to knock out.
Yeah, exactly.
Great.
So it's just a way of being able to see what's going on. We actually don't suggest you use this way of doing UI. There's actually much better ways, especially ways that actually don't have any requirement on the model itself, which is actually a really good idea. But in this case, it's just faster, and we are very quickly running to the end. So that's that done. I need to just add this guy, duration PT5M, because that was 5 minutes. Okay, and then the final thing is, the final thing of this model is that we have some code to create an account. We already know, we've written this code, we already know what it's supposed to do, and we don't want to have to rewrite it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to our code. This is our important code that we have written, a little bit of Java here. It doesn't do anything of consequence, but it's you can imagine some nicer code than this. And I'm going to just go and create a shiny new class. The nice thing is, because it's just plain old Java, you can actually add the code directly to your project workspace. What I'm going to do now, though, is I'm actually going to put it as part of a Java delegate, just to make things a little more interesting. So here we have our important code. So this is our Java delegate. I just need to copy this stuff here. As I said, you don't really want to be copying and pasting code, but it makes for an easier demo for me. So thank you all for understanding. There we go. And now I just need to add the missing libraries. And I'm sure there's a chorus of people saying to themselves that IntelliJ does this automatically or whatever, but maybe I like the misery of having to add all this imports myself. Okay, so there we go, that's that. So we've got my code in my project. I now just need to copy the qualified name, and I just then need to say, okay, now you're running a Java class called this, and now you're running a Java class called this. And the final step is actually deploying it. Unlike my previous examples where I actually deployed from the modeler itself, because I have code here that I need to deploy with it, I'm actually going to deploy this as a WAR file, which is going to wrap everything together and then send it to our dear friends in my Wildfly deployment. So let's just find my workspace. It's called Migrate Demo. I'm going to run this. So this will actually run, dude. Oh wait, wrong workspace. There we go. There we go. So that's going to actually build this project, and assuming I didn't do anything incorrect, which I'm sure I did, because that seemed to go far too smoothly. That seems all right. Yeah, you know what? I should believe myself more. Maven is broken. Okay, so let's try and do this. See, that was the curse I just did there, Mike. I just suggested things were going to go okay, and they very quickly didn't.
That's okay. You're giving a realistic demo, and everyone can learn from your mistakes. We hope.
Yeah, if only I could learn from my mistakes. So I'm going to do this the long way. So I'm just going to build the project here in the same way before. It's going to create a WAR file in the target folder. I'm just going to drop that into the container, and then we're going to really quickly create an instance at a very specific point in our process that represents a migration of actual state from the other BPMS to the new one. And this is going speeding through it there. A trick to make this build faster is to skip tests if you like to live dangerously. Yeah, looking good.
That's the good red text.
Oh, that's the good red text. Yes, well spotted. I should actually do some sort of workshop on how to recognize good red text from bad red text. Okay, so here's the deployment folder of the thing I'm currently using. I'm basically going to grab this WAR file that I just created, and I'm going to drop it in here, and that's going to deploy, assuming that, it should deploy because I've tested it, so you would imagine it did. So it's deploying now, and we should then see it here in our process. Where's the migration demo? There we go. And now, as I said, it's very possible that we then have a running instance that is not here or at the start of it, but actually here with a whole bunch of data. And the nice thing is we offer some really good API for that. Specifically, I have a REST call here and this is called it's the regular stuff for starting a process instance. So it's pointing my local host. It's the engine itself. It's saying start this process called migrate stuff. I'll give it a better name now. It's called migrate demo now. And so let's put it there. So I want to start the process called migrate demo. But the really nice thing is in the body here, what I'm actually saying is I'm giving it start instructions. I don't want it to start at the beginning. I want it to start at this point here. So I just need to give it this ID. And I can pop the ID here. And then I also am going to give it some data. So you can see that I'm going to give it the new account variable that would have existed if it had passed through this before. So I'll send that along using Postman, and I assume that worked. We will tell if I refresh this. And because of the API's availability, it means that you can really easily code up a migration path between your old BPMS and your new one by simply creating this mapping and then using the REST API to actually create the new station.
No instance left behind. Very nice.
No instance left behind. Yeah, yeah, and then exactly. You don't want to be some kind of you don't want some sort of milquetoast sort of scenario going on. So that's basically all I have for our demo, but of course I love questions. They're always fun. So
we've had one question come in so far. So someone asked about integrating with different ESBs, enterprise buses, and systems like those. So what can you say about that?
Yeah, that's super common because, of course, usually that's a centralized component in your architecture, and there's lots of ways of doing it. What I want to actually say is it's very, very easy to do that because of the REST API, but also you can be very, very clear when you're actually using Camunda with a service bus is to make sure that you don't have any state that is somehow connected to the service bus. When you bring in Camunda as part of the architecture, the worst thing people can sometimes do is decide to create multiple places where state is maintained, and that makes everything so much more complicated. It's really hard to say. I don't think it's ever been a very complicated thing to connect to a service bus because both Camunda and generally service buses are their primary function is orchestration and connectivity. So it's really never much of a problem there.
Very good. So we've had another question come in. What's the difference between deploying directly from Modeler and deploying a WAR file if we don't have any Java classes?
That's a good one. So the idea is there's two main methods of using Camunda. The first is you use basically your Java classes and your front-end stuff, and you wrap it all in a WAR file together. The reason you would do that is because you need context for your Java classes. So when your process moves, it's running a Java class. It needs to find it somehow, and it's usually within the WAR file it's deployed. Now, you saw me deploy from the modeler. Why would I do that as a difference? Well, the difference is that the modeler doesn't, if I'm using external tasks, I actually don't need, or I shouldn't actually, be deploying my Java classes with my model. So in that case, I have a complete separation between my model and my actual business logic. And if that's the case, then you can deploy straight from the modeler because it doesn't need any context at all, because the external tasks that are running, that are getting the work to do, are not going to actually need to be deployed with the engine at all.
Okay, so next question is how a user can see multi-user or multiple instances of the process. So the create the account demo that we put together, might be running it for thousands of users. Yeah, makes perfect sense. So how do we see the state or the progress of a certain instance?
So Cockpit basically has that feature. So I'll give you some examples. We have some customers that are using up as far as like they're starting 25 million instances per day. Okay, and how do they view that? Well, the Cockpit actually is has all sorts of really nice ways of being able to filter specific instances based on process variables, based on business keys, and all sorts of fun stuff. So not only can you view everything at a very high level. So for instance, if there was like 30,000 or tokens on a single task, visually what you would see is 30K, the letter K afterwards, because you don't want this huge big number. It's not relevant. So we have like all sorts of nice little ways of trying to make it a lot easier to deal with those. The filtering really helps because you can get right down to any instance by using filters based on lots of different things. I might even pop into Cockpit just to really quickly show you those. And I'll let you see if there's any more questions while I...
Yeah, none right now, but would like to give a shout out to Catherine, who answered the question correctly with the answer Irish, the language on the slide.
Good job, yeah. It's the only thing I know beyond asking to go to the bathroom. So that's my Irish, unfortunately. Yeah, still there is. So here we have our, this is our filter. So if I was interested, for instance, in a specific variable, let's say name, and I want it to be my own name, then it would try and find instances. Currently there's none, so I'm going to cheat. I'm going to pop in here, and I'm going to, let's say, grab an instance of one of these guys. Maybe I have a variable in here. I don't. I'm going to add a variable. So again, you have a lot of power in Cockpit. So here we go. So that's added. And if I swing back here and then rerun this query, let's see, it apparently shouldn't work for some reason. Just trying to get rid of it completely. Now this is provided I spelled my name correctly, and it wouldn't be the first time I messed that one up. Okay, there we go. There's the instance there. You can add virtual columns, and then you can sort them in various ways. You can see this from the pick, and then you can go straight to the instance itself. There's actually lots of ways of being able to use Cockpit to find very specific things that are going on.
Okay, so you could see each instance as its own individual instance.
Absolutely,
really easily based on a variable.
Very
nice. All right. Well, we are just out of time, and so thank you again to everyone for joining us, and we really appreciate your time. We'd love to see you next week or the week after if you want to learn more about our external task clients working with Camunda applications that aren't written in Java, and learning more about Optimize 2.1. So hope to see you soon, and have a wonderful day. Thank you.